The medic in TF2 has several offensive tools, two of which are the most common in a single loadout and most likely to be found everywhere. The primary ranged weapons consist of the syringe gun, the overdose, the Bl00min, and the Crusaders Crossbow. He can complement those with a selection of melee weapons, the Bone-Saw, the Solemn Vow, the Uber-Saw, the Vita-Saw, and the Amputator. But as a medic, you should not be relying on your damage output, ever. Your needle guns are borderline useless in damage means. You cannot rely on them for solid output when they have both travel time, random spread, and a small arc, a maximum of 10 damage per needle and a minimum of 5. They arc down after about 3 centimeters, meaning that you need to be within smelling distance to hit anything, and if you're in smelling distance, you're probably going to die. This lack of reliability when it comes to spread, range, and damage means that there is only 2 guns that are used by the majority of medic players. The Bl00min, easily the less used of the two, gives you a health whenever you hit an enemy. It's useful in combination with your passive health regen to help you escape a fight. However, it sets that health regen to 2 instead of 3, and your out of combat health regen to 4 instead of 6. So, considering that you lose your passive health regen, which is one of your most important tools, but you do gain health upon hitting an enemy with each needle, it also suffers from random spread and unreliability, so unfortunately it's a lot less used than the alternatives. This means that the Crusaders Crossbow is the dominating weapon for medics everywhere. With the Crusaders Crossbow, you can aim across the entire map with fairly reliable accuracy and damage. Except it doesn't just do damage, it can heal your own team. The crossbow can hit an enemy and damage them, or it can hit a teammate and heal them for a significant amount and even give you a small amount of Uber on top of that. Even close range, you can use it for a quick heal on a person under fire when the normal healing rate will not cut it. And not only do you not have to worry about damage fall off over distance like with every other weapon, in fact, you do more damage over long range. This also applies to your healing. The downside to the crossbow is that it only has 1 shot per clip, but that balances it out to a small reload time for a lot of damage and a lot of healing. Its low fire rate, decent damage, and decent healing can be used to annoy snipers all the way across the map. You can heal your own team from the other side of the game, or you can just attempt to deal a small amount of damage to the enemy before you engage them. However, once you start using the crossbow, you will instinctively switch to your primary and shoot needles at your teammates whenever you see that they are low health. But then again, you're probably not going to end up switching off this thing much. The increased range means that you can heal your team without needing to cross a choke or a dangerous area, putting yourself at risk. The melee options for medic unfortunately suffer from the same as the primaries. Most of them are pretty garbage. The Solemn Vow, the busted head, allows you to see an enemy's health when you look at them. If they're in your line of sight, you can shoot them, but they can also shoot you back, and it's easier just to call out their position. If they've been damaged by a teammate, chances are that teammate is going to call it out and be trying to finish the job in any serious competitive scenes. The Vita-Saw collects organs when you hit an enemy. The amount of organs you have increases the Ubercharge that you respawn with, which also depends on the Ubercharge you had when you were alive. Each organ you collect gives you 15% more Ubercharge saved upon death to a maximum of 60%. This is more useful in the competitive scene, as you can mess with the enemies and make them lose track of how much Ubercharge you actually have. However, this is really limited to only being useful in a competitive scene. In something as medieval mode, you would want the Amputator, a medical melee where when you taunt, you actually heal all of your teammates around you for 3 health regen per second, as well as healing yourself. While the Amputator does not have anything super special about it, aside from its taunting, that can be good if you need to heal up a large group of teammates with just a fair amount of health. Not anything to make a push with, but just enough to get out of the fight safely. But don't forget, when you're taunting, you are incredibly vulnerable, and you cannot leave the taunt whenever you wish, you have to wait for it to finish. This can lead to your untimely death if you aren't careful when and where you choose to do it. And that leads us to the final weapon, the Uber-Saw. It's the go-to medic melee and it allows you to get 1/4 of your Ubercharge on a single hit on an enemy. This means just hitting one person quickly will boost yourself closer to a full Ubercharge, and with the Vaccinator you can get 1 free charge as mentioned in the previous Medigun video. The Vita-Saw is the most commonly chosen weapon, because if you have to melee someone, getting a free 25% Uber and getting out alive is often the best outcome. Not to mention, combining this with Medic's almost guaranteed melee crits, the Vita-Saw will usually come out on top, and most times you might even be able to beat a melee class at their own game. If the enemy team has a failing Demo Knight or Spy that is almost feeding themselves to you, the Vita-Saw is just going to turn them into a supply of almost unlimited Uber charge that you can just use to punish their own team with until they learn to switch classes.